we have a pretty serious framing issue around work and labor, at least in this country, but it seems like it is to some degree in other countries as well. And one of the things that we have to talk about is it really comes down to values. And now I argued there's no such thing as universal, but if we start from the ground level, right? The ground level being basically life and liberty. I mean, especially as it pertains to the United States, life and liberty. And you can add in the pursuit of happiness, but honestly, I would say that life and liberty covers that. And I much prefer the original wording of life, liberty, and property, because property is actually a necessary part of that equation as well. But we have to start there. And the reason we have to start there is that if we take as an assumption, as a baseline assumption, that your human rights begin with you have the right to be alive and you have the right to have liberty to conduct your living the way you see fit, including property that you gain and including your pursuit of happiness. Obviously, that carries the caveat of it that everybody else does too, which means that the intersections of lives and liberty will have to be modulated and negotiated to some degree. But that automatically means that you have to take into consideration what it takes to be alive and conduct yourself with liberty, and to acquire property and to pursue happiness. Now, some people will take that idea and say, then everybody should be guaranteed those things that allow them to just live. I don't think you can make that argument. And the reason I don't think you can make that argument is that the things that it takes to actually conduct your living and be alive requires the accumulation of resources and the refinement of resources. It requires labor, which requires time, life energy, your labor. That means that you are giving part of your life to the acquisition of resources. If you are giving part of your life to the acquisition of resources, then in a sense, right, that's where property comes from. Okay, so we take all that as a baseline, right? You have the right to be alive and to live the way that you see fit, pursuing happiness, being free, and acquiring property. That's how that works, right? So here's the initial problem, right? Because when people are born, they don't have the means to acquire property on their own, so they have to be given property. That is what the family unit and the larger, the extended family, the tribe, are for, right? If we look at the natural environment, pre-technological humans and whatnot, that is exactly what family and tribe are for. So when you take all of that into consideration, one of the things that I think that we need to take into account then is that acquiring the resources that are mandatory for living, i.e. food and shelter, your hierarchy of needs things, will take precedence over other things. And the fact is that acquiring resources, which means acquiring the raw materials, also refining the resources into something usable, and then turning the refined resources into, the way technology works, ever increasingly complex technologies for us to make use of. So you have this sort of kind of cascade effect of acquiring resources, turning those resources into something, combining resources into other things. And right, you have this exponential growth of tools and technologies that allow us to basically make life less hostile and to make resource acquisition easier. Now, here's the interesting part of this. When you get to the point when resource acquisition is much easier and people have more energy and more free time on their hands, Well, we operate kind of like, say, baboons, using Robert Sapolsky's life work, right? And we tend to use our free time, our downtime, our boredom time to overthink things, to catastrophize things, to pick on each other. We basically turn into kind of miserable creatures. We are not built for all of that idleness. And there's only so much time you can commit to, grooming and beautification and self-improvement. And that's what, the creative arts are for. That's what, movies and music and TV and things are for. They are, pleasure devices. And to a point, those things, right, they contain within them the ancient information of the storytelling traditions, but they also help us endear ourselves to one another. They help us figure out who our tribe is, and like there are really some interesting kind of like biological biopsychosocial mechanisms embedded within our pursuit of entertainments based around those life functions. It's several orders of several degrees down down the causality pathway, but the fact is that they're all kind of important. But like I said, we have this framing issue now. We have this issue where, we tell people, don't become the garbage man, don't become a manual laborer, don't become a maintenance guy, don't become a janitor. And yet those are some of the more important jobs. We absolutely need people to produce food. Now, you can say everybody go have a garden, but there's going to be a limit to how much you can produce. You can say everybody go be a hunter. There's going to be a limit to how much you can hunt. And then you're also going to need people who are laborers, people who actually do things like building shelter and creating plumbing, and in the modern age, doing electrical work. And then you need the people that actually get those resources, which means you need the guys going and getting the lumber and quarrying the stone and finding the mineral content to create concrete, and the metals to conduct electricity and create piping, to create nails, things like that. These are things that on the small scale are more or less doable in a very small locale, as long as it's rich with resources. But in an ever spreading out, globalizing economy, you need this division of labor where, all right, I'm going to have these guys over here do this thing, I'm going to have these guys over here do that thing. And now, of course, we know the market is smarter than people, and the market self-regulates. We don't need a top-down saying, you do this and you do that. We don't need that. Like within a company, that's fine. Within a family, that's fine. There's a limit of scale on top-down, though. Bottom-up is always better. And when we look at this, right, we need to actually be telling people, like when they're kids, like, yes, you can be anything you want, but we also need to be telling kids, like, look, go learn how to build something, go learn how to make something, right? Yes, we need teachers, right? We need people that can teach people how to do those jobs. We absolutely need teachers. And not everybody who is good at doing the thing is going to be able to teach, and not everybody who teaches is going to be an accomplished doer, right? They're two different skill sets. So yeah, we need teachers too. And we need researchers to figure out how to do things better. We need engineers to figure out how to do things better. We need architects to figure out how to do things better. We need the people that are more engaged on the planning and structuring side of things to look at things like efficiency and whatnot. I mean, there's a reason that mathematics and the sciences exist. We need the laborers, absolutely, because at the end of the day, we can still live in mud huts, but then we want to do better, right? And so we need the thinkers after that. And then every time a new piece of technology comes along, We need to be able to teach people how to use that new technology. And again, like, we have this cascade effect thing going, but we still need people to clean up messes. We still need people to build things. We still need people to produce food. We should absolutely be esteeming people who are producing so much more than people who are just talking and thinking. I don't have a problem with architects making money, but the carpenters and the contractors and the plumbers should be making way more money than the architects. Way more money than the architects. And that's not something that should be controlled by the government. Not at all. That is something that is controlled by the market. We need, as customers, to put our money where the value is. Right now, there is a shortage of carpenters because carpenters are not paid enough. Who's going to build houses? Or are we going to move away from wooden houses, get rid of carpentry altogether, and move to something else, right? But why aren't people becoming carpenters? Because it's hard on the body, and things like plumbing and HVAC and electrical work all pay significantly more. People will naturally go where the money is because now, right, money is a proxy for our transfer of resources, because direct trade has extreme limitations. And so we need proxy trade. And in order to do proxy trade over a long distances and vast locales, you need, something that is going to be somewhat universally accepted between them. Now, in my opinion, having it decentralized so there's a few modes of trade is far better. But the fact is that people need to make money, and their goods. And that money doesn't just come from nowhere, right? Because money is still just a proxy for trade. In fact, we're seeing that right now. The Fed printed a bunch of money and our money value just goes down because the money itself isn't worth anything. All it does is, spread out the division for the resources. We need producers. We absolutely need producers. And whether that is you producing for your own life, you producing for your family, you producing for your community, or you producing commercially, whatever, but we need producers, and I'll admit, right, I teach martial arts for a living. I am not really a producer. I mean, I can tinker around the house and do projects and stuff, but I teach people how to fight, right? My job is a luxury job, but it is, right? I don't make any money off of this, right? But my job is a luxury job. But there is some value to it, but it's back-end value. It's value of people intersecting with each other and people needing to be able to have, physical capacity and confidence to deal with intersecting with each other. And knowing how to fight and becoming athletically stronger is important. Yeah, I'm not saying that my job is of no value, but it is so far down the orders of magnitude that, that at the end of the day, right, if I'm starving, me being able to fight will only help me take somebody else's food. It's not going to help me actually go and do the thing myself, right? Now, sure, go become a hunter. What are the tools you use to hunt? Do you know how to make those tools? Or do you know how to use alternate tools? Become a farmer. Do you know how to make the tools that you do to farm? Right? You have to see how interconnected all this stuff is, and it really does come down to a framing issue. We absolutely need to be paying more attention to the producers, the actual producers of tangible goods, because those are the people that actually make everything go. And those are the people that actually deserve our time and our money and our attention. Those are the people that deserve to be, they may not want to be celebrities in the public figure sense, right? But those are the people, those are the jobs that should be kind of celebrity positions, the sought after positions, because those are the people that are sacrificing entertainment and luxury and everything to do the thing. And now some people absolutely love those jobs, and I think that is fantastic. I think that is absolutely fantastic. But those are the people that we should be thanking. So, don't thank a policeman. Don't thank a soldier. Thank your plumber. Thank your carpenter, right? Thank the local hardware store clerk that sells the tools to those guys. Right? Those people are so much more important. So I think that's all I have to say right now. I will talk to you guys later. Good journey.
Chocolate-covered laser discs, flashing like a dagger in the night.